You're listening to the 101st episode of the Coaster101 Podcast, and if you've been listening to this show for any stretch of time, you will know that I'm Andrew Stillwell. I've appeared on apparently 90% of these episodes, the first 100 episodes we've had, but the good news is we're celebrating episode 101 this week, and I am joined by approximately half of the Coaster101 team to talk the first 100 episodes of the podcast, and also we're going to tell a story that the four of us promised we would never tell. But celebratory podcast, celebratory situation, it's the perfect time to do it. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the godfather himself of Coaster101.com. He created the website when he was a teenager in his parents' house. John Stevenson in Tennessee. John, what's going on?
Hey, Andrew. I'm doing good. Yeah, it's crazy. A website is now older than I am when I was, or older than I was when I started the website. So 17 years. Crazy.
Yeah. And we started the podcast as kind of like a 15th birthday pandemic project where we were like, yeah, let's stop breaking bread and actually record our voice on the internet talking about roller coasters because nobody else does that. So we should definitely do it. But somehow it's happened and we're at 100 episodes. But also joining me up in Ohio, Kyle Lindner. Kyle, what's going on?
Hey, man. Not much. Happy to be here.
That's good. And then last, but certainly not least, the Excel guru of Coaster101.com who put together this handy-dandy spreadsheet that we'll probably never share because it's way too detailed and in-depth. But that's how I know I've been on 91 of the first 100 episodes. Nick Weisenberger, also in Ohio. Nick, what's going on?
Hey, not much, Andrew.
All right. Well, guys, we've been kind of teasing this on social media off and on for the last couple of weeks, but it is our 101st podcast episode. And like I kind of mentioned, we started this project back in 2020, June 2020, right around the 15th birthday of Coaster 101. We'd always kicked around the idea of a podcast, and I am personally shocked that it has lasted 100 episodes, but I wanted to ask you guys, and I know we've all been on varying numbers of episodes, but is there anything that has stuck out to you guys as like memorable moments on the podcast or favorite guests that we've had on the show that you guys want to talk about? John, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so great. Start with the indecisive one. So with 100 choices, it's very hard to pick one. I would say the only thing that I am more interested in than a operating theme park is one that is no longer operating. So I really like the Hard Rock Park Memories episode with Josh Liebman of Attraction Pros. I've just could listen to people talk about that park all day. I love the IAAPA minisodes as someone who is very overwhelmed by all of the IAAPA events. I really appreciated those. And then lastly, I know I'm naming three, our interview in 2021 with Glenwood Caverns GM Nancy Hurd talking about Defiance. That was just such a cool episode. And I think we're going to maybe have her back. Is that right?
Yeah, we don't want to spoil things, but if you liked Nancy Hurd's interview in August of 2021, you're going to love her interview in August of 2022. Not this week, but it will be in your podcast feed next week. So stay tuned for that for sure. Nick, what about you? I know you've been a semi-frequent guest on the podcast, but one of the also semi-frequent guests are your two kids, Nick and Nora. But what are some of your memories and favorite episodes of the podcast?
Yeah, that's right. I think this is my 19th episode now. And I didn't count how many episodes my kids have appeared in, but and that may not be one of the best episodes for the listeners, but that is definitely one of the best memories from me of doing the podcast is having my kids come on because they still talk about it to this day. And my son Henry has an Under Armour shirt that has like a water slide looking thing on the front of it, and he calls it his podcast shirt.
I have one of those too. It just happens to be whatever shirt I'm wearing when I do the podcast. So Henry and I have a lot in common. But yeah, I do remember you and I were recording talking about Legoland, and Henry started he took his headphones off and started swinging them around like a lasso and popped you in the face. And that was something. Unfortunately, we don't record the video portions of these shows, but that is something I will never. Yeah, that would have made an incredible blooper reel.
That one got a little bit crazy. I think that was a little maybe too late past their bedtimes for that one.
It's all good. But any other memories that stick out for you? Any other guests that you enjoyed listening to?
I just feel like we're so fortunate to have so many great guests appear on the show. Like, it could just mention so many of them. But as an engineer, I always like the ones that kind of go into how rides work and give kind of more background information. So anything like that, like talking to Adam Sandy and Dave Cobb, even talking with Matt from Print My Ride about trying to get into more of the little engineering details and things like that.
Yeah, I love it. And Kyle, any favorite guests or memories? I know you appeared on a couple of early episodes. You had a buddy of yours. You guys talked to Orion and Candemonium and Hershey Park. But any other memories that stick out for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first one we were on, that was just pretty cool to be a part of. Getting to kind of reminisce of the last couple days spent at parks and chat about it a little bit. There's really just a lot to take in when you're looking at the whole list, but I think the ones that stick out to me the most are the ones where we kind of are on the podcast by ourselves, whether it's 3 or 4 of us, all talking about an opinion we have about theme parks or going through lists that we all have. I think it's just really cool to see where we all are coming from. And even though we all like these different things and rank things different ways, just how we all come together, right, for Coaster 101.
I love it. Yeah. I love the shows that we're on. The one show I didn't like, and this was a good idea at the time, I thought, but my stream of consciousness, 20 minute soliloquy a couple weeks ago as I was driving through the highways of Texas at night. I promise I will never subject any listener of this show to just my voice for 20 consecutive minutes ever again. But there are definitely some memorable episodes. I love that first episode we did pretty early on with Chris Foshi and Jefferson Richardson, who at the time were killing the game in social media and have both since gotten out of the theme park social media and communications game. So it was cool to have both them on. Guys just talking, Chris from the perspective from a corporate park and Jefferson from at the time an independent park, and then they were purchased by Hershey. But those guys were great. Obviously, Dave Cobb, the 2-part series we did with him was really good. When we had Upslap Media, Scott Schaefer and Jack on the podcast, and then also Taylor and Sarah when they were talking about This Is How We Roll, their RMC documentary. That's probably our most popular episode ever. And when you interview some really good guests, people definitely want to. They want to tune in, which is always nice. And so, we appreciate everybody who's listened. And we did a really quick Twitter thread last week after we dropped our 100th episode of just highlighting everybody who had ever guested on the show. So if you've ever listened, if you've ever been a guest, in the industry, out of the industry, just a fan of coasters or for some reason a fan of us. And I feel like there's at least 1 or 2 of you out there, and I might have gone to college with both of them. So, but yeah, I just wanted to take a quick second and thank anybody who has taken any time out for the Coaster 101 podcast. We could not do this show and would not do this show without the audience. There's so many great guests who've given their time for us. So thank you. Again, this is the 101st episode, meant to celebrate a little bit, but we do want to take a quick look back and just, if you've missed any of the first 100 episodes, they're all cataloged on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast. So if you want to start at the beginning, great. I don't recommend it. Pick a topic somewhere in the middle when we hit our stride and get to it. But I never thought this would go 100 episodes, and but here we are at 101. And the good news is we've got a special story for you guys this week as part of our 100th episode. And it's a story that's a few years old, but it is a story that has also never been told, because I think we collectively agreed, the 4 of us, to never tell this story. But at the same time, the park is now closed. It's no longer operating. I don't think people can get in trouble anymore. So we're just going to tell the story. But I'm going to set the scene, and then I'm going to let Kyle take away, because he kind of started this whole thing. But back in November of 2019, John came over from Tennessee, and Kyle and Nick kind of road trip down from Ohio, and we were going to do a weekend at Carowinds as part of their peanut celebration, and we will link that in the show notes. But it was a really good time at Carowinds. But as coaster enthusiasts do, if you come to an area that you're not in a lot, you're going to try and grab some other credits, even if they're not usually accessible. Kyle, go ahead and tell us about the phone call you made on the way down from Ohio.
Yeah, so like any coaster nerd, I keep a Google Maps with every roller coaster plotted out that I'm going to be road tripping to. So I knew that while we were at Carowinds, there was this kind of no-name place called Funtastics in Charlotte. And so in true coaster nerd fashion, we were driving down the road, Nick and I was like, should we try to hit this place up? And it had some weird hours. So I was like, yeah, we'll just give them a call. And Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we tried calling them a couple times and didn't get through. But eventually we did. And I don't know.
You gotta tell the folks what kind of roller coaster was at this facility.
Okay. Should we start with that?
You're burying the lead here. Yes.
Huge coaster. No, this is your run-of-the-mill Minor Mike.
Yes.
And that's all that's there is a Minor Mike, putt-putt course, and a goat track.
And a Minor Mike is basically a circle that's 8 feet tall at most?
Maybe 6 feet.
On a good day, 8 feet tall. Its tender bio says it's 8 feet tall, but it's not 8 feet tall.
Well, then it's got 2 or 3 bunny hills after that, right?
It's one.
Okay. One? Oh, okay. I need to watch
you go around more than once. It could have as many as you want, as you just could keep pressing the pedal.
Anyway, we're all biting at the bit to go ride this thing. So we finally get a hold of them. And I was trying to explain to them, we're from Coaster101. We write this blog. We'd love to come while we're in your area to ride this coaster. But they're like, oh yeah, come on down. We'd love to have you. So I was trying to make sure that if we went there, we'd be able to ride, because a lot of these kiddie coaster places will not let adults ride. So
I believe Funtastics was one of those. I think you had to be something ridiculous, less than 48 inches tall to ride this. Yeah, otherwise, they were not going to let you do it.
Right, and that's, I think, why I called to begin with. So I was shocked to hear, yeah, come on down. So I told them that we'd probably be there, I think, late that Saturday night. And after a very long day at Carowinds, we made the trek over to Funtastics at 11 o'clock, I believe. It was really late.
It was 10:30. It was unseasonably cold for early November.
This was November, yeah.
It was early November, and it was it had to have been less than 30 degrees outside. It was nuts. And, me being me, I was I'm wearing shorts because that's what I'm doing. Meanwhile, John is over there. He has 14 layers, 2 hats, 6 scarves. It's he's like the entire cast of Rent with the amount of scarves he has on.
I'm not built for those temperatures. Absolutely not. So.
I have a photo of John going into Carowinds that morning with his scarf and ear warmers on.
Yep.
Yes.
That is me.
So, yeah, we go over, and for those who are unfamiliar with the Charlotte area, Carowinds is located south of the city. It technically has a Charlotte address, but it is right there on the border of North and South Carolina. This place, Funtastics, was located in a city called Pineville, which is also south of the city. It's kind of the next town over, but it was 10 or 15 minutes from Carowinds. And again, this roller coaster, it is, if you're not a coaster enthusiast, you are not actively seeking out Funtastics. You want to, maybe you're there for somebody's birthday party. But, go-karts, mini golf, arcade, it is a family entertainment center at its core that just happened to have a approximately 6-foot tall roller coaster that was there. So
I'm pretty sure it hadn't been renovated in like 30 years too.
It's true.
It was very, very old.
A little dated, a little tired, but that's all right. But yeah, we left, and I distinctly remember walking in. Again, this is late at night. 4 guys in their late 20s, early 30s, walking into a family entertainment center, which, again, just picture the visual. We've been told we look like the most normal coaster enthusiasts out there. It's still not an impressive visual. Like, you get this scene like Reservoir Dogs or like Anchorman even, and it's far less cool than that. It's just... So we walk in, and Kyle, was it you or Nick who was like, yeah, we're here to ride the coaster?
Yeah, I went up to the lady at the desk, and I was like, hey, we're from Coaster101. We're here to ride the coaster. And she was just really confused. So we think we stood there for a minute, and she like yelled down to some other lady that was a manager, and she popped her head out and was like, those are the coaster guys, let them in. So I don't know what I think they thought we were like coaster maintenance men or something, like the way they were talking to us.
Yeah, we were employees of Wisdom Rides.
Yeah,
it's almost what it felt like. It's like, yeah, so we're just gonna go. We're here to test the roller coaster. And apparently, it's like what they thought we were gonna do.
Yeah,
well, we did.
We did. And so the coaster was situated out on the
kind of in the parking lot area. I mean, it essentially just a concrete pad.
Yeah, they had some outdoor attractions, again, the go-karts, the mini golf. But yeah, it was on a concrete pad, and there was a significant walk out in the cold from this kind of counter snack bar information desk hybrid situation that we were dealing with. And, I remember the guy taking us out. He could not have been like a day over 16 years old. And that's generous, I feel like.
That's generous.
He was just like, yeah, well, I'll take you out there, whatever. And who did he ask? He asked one of us. He goes, so are you guys going to operate it?
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah, you can tell, again, it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and we're at this family entertainment center outside of Charlotte. Nobody else is there. And here we are just trying to ride this roller coaster. And you could tell he was like, I do not want to be here. It is too damn cold for me to stand out here while these guys ride this ride. And so he goes, so you guys are going to operate it? And we all kind of look at each other, and the look of just,
are you serious?
the confusion, or, ooh, are we going to get to do something really cool here?
Yeah.
Is this like How to Catch a untrained ride operator? Like, where's the camera? I remember I was saying like, what? Like,
it was so weird, but yeah. I think we were just like, yes, we will.
Yes. And so I do remember you walk up to this coaster. It is fenced off, and it has in big bold letters on the sign, or used to at this point, nobody over 48 inches gets in. And, I'm a solid 5'8", John, Kyle, and Nick, all significantly taller than I am. So we were like, yeah, we'll do this. They said we could, so it's got to be good, right? And then Kyle, you operated it first. You did you have to ask the guy for pointers or like?
Yeah,
there was no manual. That's for sure.
No,
they just kind of gave us the keys to the car and walked away, right?
The kid was like, "Do you want to do it?" I was like, "Yes." So I was like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "You just step on this button," and then he proceeds to walk the 100 yards back into the family entertainment center and left us there. That was the weirdest part. We were like just alone with this roller coaster for 30 minutes.
Yeah, this wasn't Arthur Levine getting to operate the new coaster at Dino's Wonder Wheel in New York or anything like that. This was literally 4 guys who were just wiped out from a day of Carowinds and had no ride training whatsoever, no, visual checks, no nothing. Not that you need them on a minor mic because you can see everything and all that. So again, there were 4 of us, and he walked away. So John hops in the front seat, Nick hops in, and I hop in. We think we somehow left a row in the middle of one of us for some reason. I think for weight balance, but that didn't make any sense.
No.
And Kyle is he's standing there and he's like, all right, all clear. And sends us up the lift hill. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is not right. Something is wrong. We're going to get in trouble. I don't know what's happening. But he sent us around the minor mic 3 or 4 times.
Oh, it was 10. Like, I remember just like sending you guys, and you guys like, all right, that's good. And I just sent you like 3 or 4 more times because I had the power at the time.
The way it works, there's just essentially a foot pedal that you step on.
That's right? It, yeah.
So you just hold the pedal down the whole time and you just keep going.
Yeah, and then I had you guys not crest the top of the hill on your last go around.
And then let off the pedal.
Yeah, I got you clear of the top. You got a rollback almost halfway back through the course.
E-stop.
Yeah, we got our enthusiast mandated rollback that you're required to get, but it wasn't on King to Ka, wasn't on Dragster, wasn't on Velocicoaster. It was on the minor mic at Funtastics.
Yeah, I was so afraid I was going to break the ride.
Little did we know that would be our last ride on that minor mic, because the coaster is no longer in operation when Funtastics, or Funtastics as I've been calling it for an embarrassing long time, closed in October of 2020.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Kyle. I mean, who operated it for Kyle? Was it you?
Probably.
It was John.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to do this because I am still like, I'm just scared that something is going to go wrong and we're going to break this coaster and be found liable for the damages. And we don't have the minor mic budget in the Coaster101 bank account to pay for anything that goes wrong here. So
I think we were all just kind of like deadbeat tired, slap happy. We were cracking up, but also like not knowing at all what was going on. Yeah. It was so surreal.
And again,
it was just too shocking that they would just walk away and leave us with a ride. Like, we didn't think we were ever even going to be able to ride it, number one, let alone operate it.
And again, the one employee who was like in charge of supervising us, could have been Nick's son, basically. It's like, he's like, yeah, all right, whatever. And so we're just there. We're out there a good like 10, 15 minutes just riding, taking dumb pictures. There is a shirt in our T Public shop that commemorates this moment that I think is called For the Credit. Yep. And it is, you can see Kyle and his bald head and beard at the control panel. And then you see John in the front row, and you see Nick in like the third row and me in the fourth row. And we're in this minor mic car, and all it is the one hill and a little bunny hill at the bottom. And again, this is a story that we've hesitated telling just because I don't understand the legality of it, that there was no waiver signed. They didn't know us from a hole in the wall. But they're like, yeah, you want to operate this coaster? Sure. If I can do it, you can do it. You're older than I am. So it's like, it's the craziest thing. But yeah, like John mentioned, this park unfortunately did not make it through COVID-19, closed around Halloween of 2020. And to my knowledge, it's still sitting there in Pineville. I don't know if the coaster is gone, if it's been moved anywhere. I didn't check the RCDB or anything before we started telling the story. But yeah, that's again, now that the park is closed, the roller coaster hasn't operated in, 2-ish years. It may not have operated after that. I don't know. We could have broken it that night.
It's our fault.
So, it's one of those stories that I think we just kind of laugh about, and it's become like an inside joke with the Coaster101 team that we just never really wanted to tell, because it's one of those, are we going to get in trouble? But I don't understand why. But yeah, we were out there that night, and we were just, again, hanging out like 10, 15 minutes. We go back in and we're like, thank you. And nobody said anything, which was, to me, was the weirder thing almost. It wasn't like, oh, did you guys have fun? It was like, all right, nothing. We're out of here.
I think we should get them on the podcast and just like, what were you thinking that night?
Yes, like a Where Are They Now episode.
Yeah.
That's what we need. But when you think about it, they have coasters in your overseas that are self-operated. So maybe Funtastics, maybe they were, maybe they're the trendsetters. Maybe we're going to see more of these operate it yourself. I mean, there's a labor shortage. So why not let people operate their own coasters? I mean, go in like a launched coaster. As long as you're in your seat and you pull the restraint down by the time it launches, you're good. So maybe there's an opportunity there.
John, you know the difference between those European parks and the and Funtastics?
Oh gosh, there might be one or two.
Yeah. Mainly they're still open. So I don't know if the trendsetter moniker for Funtastics is very apt, but
hey, Funtastics walked so all the other parks could run. That's all I'm saying. A couple years, you may see more of these.
I mean, minor mics exist. I put out on Twitter today, actually, and this is going to, release several days. I'm going to be down in Tampa for work this weekend, and there is a minor mic at Celebration Station in Clearwater. And I'm like, do I need to be a kid? Do I have to be a certain height? Do I have to go in there and make my walk of shame to the counter and say, 1 ticket for the roller coaster, please? Because I'm not going to be that close and not do it, right?
Right.
Kyle agrees. John and Nick silently, shaking their
I'm
heads.
Nodding.
I'm
actually looking. I'm looking at photos of the coaster, and I forgot that there's like a chain that's attached to the train.
Oh yes,
it like rotates around with it, almost like a I don't know.
It's a Byron curve.
Yeah.
Totally the same ride experience. It's just you go around in a circle, and there's a hill. So yeah, it's like a miniature Byron curve. It's not even a minor mic. It's a full on thrill ride. Thrill a minute. The story that was never meant to be told has now been told on the 101st episode of the Coaster 101 podcast. But when this airs, I want to talk to you guys, and John and Nick. You guys are actually headed to the Great White North this weekend to ride some coasters in Canada at Canada's Wonderland. You're also going to Darien Lake. I want to know what you guys are most excited for. We'll talk to you on the show after you come back, but what are you looking forward to most about that trip?
Well, I'm most excited about using my passport for the first time because I got it 3 weeks before the pandemic started and have not been able to use it since then. So very excited for that. At Canada's Wonderland, I would have to say Leviathan is probably one of my favorite or most excited to ride. I think they've got 17 roller coasters, so it's hard to pick just one. There are so many that I'm looking forward to.
Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I've been to Canada's Wonderland before, but I'm definitely looking forward to Yukon Strikers and new big coaster. It's been added since I've been there, but they have a lot of great rides. And just getting to a brand new park to me, and Darien Lake, being able to use my Six Flags pass again and seeing what they got going on over there. Also going to stop hopefully at Waldemere on the way, maybe hit up an Alpine coaster in New York. We'll see.
Man, you guys are living the dream, and these are the things that happen when I have to travel for work and can't go on these Coaster 101 trips. It's a bummer, but hey, you guys have fun with Yukon Striker and Leviathan and Behemoth and Ride of Steel at Darien Lake. I'm going to be riding my minor mic at Celebration Station. Maybe, allegedly, who knows?
We'll compare stories when we get back.
Yeah, send me pictures. I'll send you pictures like a selfie of me riding the minor mic in the front car by myself in the middle of the day.
Pics or it didn't happen, Andrew. Pics or it didn't happen.
Man, I hate it when you call me out.
Would anyone believe our story about minor mic if we didn't have photos? Like I can just tell people, I can see people writing in after this. Like that didn't happen. And we thankfully have pics and video to prove it.
We do have pictures and video, and we will throw those in the show notes as well. So if you find our show via coaster101.com and we write the kind of episode preview each week. We'll include that video. Like I said, we'll include the story of the Peanut celebration at Carowinds. But yeah, again, the 101st episode of Coaster 101, we had to kind of deviate from our form here, which is interviews or debate shows. And we just had to get together and tell the story that we promised would never be told. It's a momentous occasion, 101 episodes. Here's to the next 101. And then maybe we will, on episode 202 of the Coaster 101 podcast. So we'll talk to you guys in like two-ish years. We're going to talk about John Stevenson's backyard amusement park. But John, I don't think you're ready for that to hit the presses quite yet.
That's going to be a long episode, so stay tuned.
That'll be on the Patreon when we eventually get a Patreon. Yes. That'll be our like bonus content is the story of.
Yeah, you know what? I think we want people to stay on the Patreon, so that might not be a good idea.
We can always get Nick to tell the Steel Hog saga.
Well, I was just going to say that. Yeah, that's a whole other episode.
Man, this is
a classic.
Oh, that is a good one. So yeah, we've got stories. The good news is, with the Coaster 101 team, we all seem to like each other enough to go on coaster trips where we have these weird, wacky things happen to us at all times. But yeah, one thing we want to reach out, talk about is we are looking for writers. We're looking for content creators, video producers, people to join me on the podcast and maybe edit it so I don't have to edit it every week. But head to coaster101.com. I think there's a button on there on the About page that says join the Coaster 101 team. If you click around the site enough, you'll find it eventually. So if you've got an interest in writing, content creation, producing, anything like that, and want to become friends with, again, as some random person on Facebook described us, the most normal looking group of coaster enthusiasts you've ever seen, hit us up, coaster101.com. But John, Nick, Kyle, thank you guys for joining me for episode 101 of the Coaster 101 podcast. Like we mentioned, Nancy Hurd from Glenwood Caverns is going to join us next week. That episode, we've already recorded it, and she's got a lot of really cool things to say about Defiance. And we asked some good questions, some questions about paint schemes and vertical drop angles and things like that. Really good coaster nerd content. So if you want to go back into the archives and kind of preview Nancy, we got her right after they announced Defiance last August, and they've, it opened the 1st of July, and it's open to rave reviews. So, but that's coming up next week. That will do it for this week's show. As we've hinted at a couple of times, we've got a website, coaster101.com. We're also on all forms of social media at Coaster101. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, Living Social, Groupon. I don't know. Probably not Groupon. We don't charge for anything. But if you're listening, make sure you're also liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, leaving 5-star reviews on iTunes where we have a perfect 5-star rating after 33 reviews, and on Spotify where we have a 4.9 rating because somebody gave us a 4. I don't get it. We like 5-star reviews, but we'll take whatever kind of reviews and comments you want to leave us. But the more reviews and comments and things like that, reviews we get, the more people can find the show, and it gives us more reason to create another 101, 201, 301 episodes worth of content for you to listen to. This show would not be what it is without our theme music from Justin Mabry of JM Music Design. And Nick, Kyle, and John, thank you guys again. Let's do it again soon.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right. We will talk to y'all again soon. See ya.